Should it pop up in the corner? All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us this evening for another FM on Air, Family Medicine, FMIG Leadership, FMIG Leadership Series talk. My name is John Hefner. I'm a third year at St. Louis University in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm also the Region 2 coordinator for the FMIG network. And we're here this evening to talk about some regional campuses. And this is a topic that's come up in my year as the regional coordinator with many different students. Regional campuses are becoming more and more popular throughout the United States. And we really don't have a lot of experience working with FMIGs at these regional campuses. So we're here to share some ideas about different successes and different obstacles that student leaders are running into. So we have a number of guests this evening from a couple of campuses that I'm going to introduce now. First, we have students from the University of Indiana, as well as the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. And our students from the University of Indiana are Brenda Vasquez and Dan Brown. I apologize. And then we also have from the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, we have Kirsta Hoffman and Matthew Wheeler. And so now we have a handful of questions that these folks are going to answer for us this evening. And I'm going to start with the first question. So could you all tell us what creative solutions have you come up with to reach out to students at different satellite campuses or at your own satellite campus? And we're going to start here with Brenda, okay?
Thank you for having me. So I am, just a little background about myself. I actually did my first 2 years at our satellite campus in Muncie, and then I moved to the main campus in Indianapolis. So one of the things that we did as a student interest group, we created a liaison. That was the first step, and Dan is actually the liaison for the center campuses. The second thing that we kind of thought about, because we always do emails, and our school does a good job about emailing the main campus and then emailing only satellite campuses. So we try to use that option to kind of recruit people to come to events, and people that are driving distance sometimes do come to our events, but that's not very common. So one of the solutions that we thought was during primary care week that we had in October was to make sure that we had all of our talks be virtual. So that means no matter where you were in the state of Indiana, you could see any of the talks and ask questions if you wanted to. The second thing that we did was a movie matinee. So we try to get a representative from each campus. So we just sent a mass email trying to get somebody to kind of lead a discussion and talk about the movie that we were going to show. And we weren't able to get a lot of people involved just because all the satellite campuses didn't have the same schedule. So that was a big challenge. However, we did get 3 campuses to be involved out of the ones that we have, and it was a big success. Another thing that I kind of want to point out is in my campus, there was a big study that was made about the satellite campuses, and people in satellite campuses were more likely to go into primary care than people that aren't in a satellite campus. So it seems like the interest is potentially there, but it's just really hard to make that connection because we aren't really talking to those people.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Dan, would you like to add anything?
The only thing I'll add is one of the other ways we've tried to reach more students is that we've kind of come up with workshops and different things to do, because even if a student isn't interested in family medicine in particular or isn't sure at that point, they are interested in gaining skills, seeing patients, going through simulations, and through those workshops, we can get students to come out, introduce them to other people, and then possibly get them interested in joining the family medicine student interest group because they know we do things like that.
That's
Other than that, I think Brenda covered it all.
All right. Thank you both. Now we're going to move over to the folks at University of Wisconsin Green Bay. Matt, Kirsta, Matt, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we can echo some of those thoughts. You know, we live in a really technologically savvy world, and so our campus up here in Green Bay with the Medical College of Wisconsin, you know, really takes advantage of not only through our lectures but communicating back and forth between the student groups. So we share our calendar of events, and when we have you know, something that either of the campuses are interested in, you know, we'll let the other group know. And it's pretty easy just to live stream them in, microphones, and they can ask questions of the doctors who are presenting, you know, things like that. So makes it almost ridiculously easy to stay connected in that way.
And I think actually to add to that too is our campus is so we have 3 campuses. We have the Medical College of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, we have one in Green Bay and one in Central Wisconsin, and we're in Wausau, Wisconsin. That's the name of it. But we share lectures already. So everything is taught in Milwaukee and it's live streamed to our campuses. So we use the system that our school already has to reach students at all 3 campuses. And then to answer your question about recruiting students, we are a satellite campus. So we basically work mostly with the students on our campus. And we haven't had a big issue finding students because like Brenda talked about, branch campuses or satellite campuses are really focused on primary care. And so when students were selected for this campus, they said they were interested in it. And so we have, of the 55 students on our campus, we have about 20 in our student groups. That's a pretty large representation of our school. So people are already really interested in the events that we have held.
All right. Well, thank you all. It's wonderful to hear about all the successes that you're having. But as we know, like with all of the successes, we do have some difficulties in this work. So again, I'm going to start with Brenda, asking what difficulties have you run in a couple of years during your FMIG leadership, either on the main campus or working with branch campuses?
I think the biggest issue being a interest group that has all 4 years, it's really hard to kind of pick a date or a time that matches the liking of every single year. And especially in a satellite campus where we have mostly first and second years is the largest audience. So finding a time that kind of matches everyone's schedule. Unfortunately, in our main campus, now they changed things. So our first years have lunch at 12 and our second years have lunch at 11 a.m. So that's been a big challenge because that means we lose a lot of our audience. So the only thing that we can do to kind of help that is getting everything recorded, pretty much. And then we try to do notes on what's, if it's an important topic like residency or a guest speaker is talking about a specific thing, we kind of do notes. Our secretary posts that on our website, and then students can have access to that later. Another challenge that we've had is kind of getting money, even though we have all of these resources, and we want students to kind of take advantage on the satellite campuses. In the satellite campuses, the refund isn't as fast as the main campus. So that kind of deters people of doing things. So my biggest thing right now is trying to get a lot of fundraisers done so that we can get funds directly through our SIG and not have to go through someone else.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Dan, any more thoughts?
Being someone at a regional campus, the biggest thing for me has been communicating with all of the campuses. I've only been in this position about 3 months or so, and just to describe how IU School of Medicine is laid out, we have the main campus in Indy, and then we have 8 regional campuses all throughout the state. 3 of them are about 3 hours or so from Indy. So it's not easy to get students from those campuses to come to Indy. And now in my position, what I've been trying to do is establish contacts at every single campus. We've tried email, we've tried social media, and nothing really has worked. We've gotten some people, but not at every campus yet. And the problem, I think, is that students are just overwhelmed with emails every single day. They get them from so many interest groups because they signed up for them on the first day of medical school and they didn't know what they were interested in. So really establishing these contacts have been one of the biggest problems for me personally in my position. I've been able to contact all the people here at my campus because I can travel there very easily, talk to them, know them, see them every day. And we've talked about possibly going out to each campus, but logistically it's really hard to do because I only get 2 weeks of vacation at some point, and it's hard to drive all over the state of Indiana and see all these different students and try to make these connections. So for me, it's really been communication.
All right, thank you, Dan. And communication always seems to be a big issue, even if you are communicating with just people on one campus. But thank you for that insight. And now moving over to Kirsta and Matt.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that we've probably faced, so we were the first class to start going through our satellite campus, and it was the first satellite campus for our school. And so for us, it was like starting from scratch. And where do we even start from that? What do we do? And we had communications with our main campus, so we got ideas from them. But I think part of it was like, okay, we need to find some local doctors that are going to come to our talks or our other events that we're running. So that's probably been a little bit of a challenge. As far as reaching students, we're really small. We only have 55 students total, and we're in like 2 rooms. So all that it takes is like writing something on a whiteboard, like an event's coming up, or we have a giant Facebook group. And if you haven't gotten it in the Facebook group, in the email, on the whiteboard, by mouth, then it's kind of sad that you've missed it. But I don't think we've ever had an issue, but that's probably because we're small.
One of the other things that, as I'm thinking back to about a year ago, we, at our satellite campus and probably in a lot of different regional campuses around the country, they run at a very different calendar, not necessarily just on a hour-by-hour class schedule, but we started 3 months ahead of our main campus. And so we were already ready and raring to go, and they were still having students who were going through orientation. And so there's just understand there might be differences about where you're at in the process when new students are coming in and getting them involved. So it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah, and that's probably why we're a more independent student group versus being tied to our main campus, is because we had started way earlier than that, and we were like, all right, we're 3 months in, we want to get our student groups running. So that would be a difference that we've experienced.
All right. Thank you both for sharing your thoughts there, and everybody for sharing those experiences. I know a lot of campuses across the country are probably struggling through similar issues. So I know it'll be nice for them to hear that they're not the only ones, and now they'll have some faces to connect with and people to talk with to help get through these struggles. But I have one more question for all of you this evening. I want to ask, what advice do you have for other FMIG in your position, either on a satellite campus or on a main campus working with branch schools? So again, we'll go start with Brenda, okay?
I think the biggest advice that I would give myself and other people would be know the area, what your work tools are in your area. So through my going through, like the residencies that I talked to, a lot of them are very close to your satellite campus, and they're actually willing to just go to that satellite campus and talk to your students. So using instead of you having to go there, try to see what is there already and what can you use and put in your toolbox. So that's my biggest thing. A lot of the residencies said, we would love to just go in and talk to you guys. We're free after all of this, interview season is over. So February is a great month for us to reach out in your satellite campus and go do a suture workshop. So that's something I had no idea was available to me. So definitely try to ask around and see what doctors are available, what other community projects that, you can kind of talk to a student that's already there and set that up.
All right, that's excellent, Brenda. And we're getting close to the end of our time here, so I'm going to go to Dan and then quickly over to Matt and Kirsta. But Dan, quick thoughts here?
I would just say no idea is a bad idea. I've had plenty that have backfired and some that have worked out.
All right, sure.
And I just say, sorry, John, I just say go ahead and like empower the leaders of your regional campuses. They're probably excited, and just encourage them. They're going to face difficulties. They're not going to know what's going on, but support them. Tell them often that they're doing a good job and that the work they're doing is important. So just encourage them.
And I would say on top of that too, like they're gonna know what's in their area, who to contact. So if you're far, like 2 hours away from them, they may know the physicians in their area. So let them maybe take the lead on some things.
All right. I want to again thank you all for being here. Appreciate your wisdom and advice here. I want to thank everybody who's watching us at home. And I just want to let you know, for everybody out there, if you want to continue this conversation, you can reach out to myself or any of the other regional coordinators through the AAFP online communities, or you can reach out to us through the emails. If you want to connect with any of the speakers tonight, I can send you their email addresses so that you can contact them and get in touch with them. Sorry, my dog just entered the shot there. But again, thank you all for being here, and have a good night.